Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and I have another diamond in the rough for you guys today. This guy, his name is Coleman. He's a defensive back out of Elon University. Nice to have you on, sir.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
So, yeah, you were all conference several times over, preseason All American for this season. And you had a lot really going for you as a prospect. So, let's get going with it, man. But let's start from the beginning. Tell us where you're from and start walking us through this journey.
Yeah, from the start, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, born and raised, grew up there my entire life, went to Lees Road High School, had only one offer out of high school from Elon University, took it, and the rest is history.
Okay. Well, let's backtrack and I want to talk about your high school days for a little bit. So, first off, on the football field, were you strictly a defensive back or did you go both ways? How'd that work?
No, growing up, I was always a defensive guy, and then when I got to high school, I started playing defense, and then my junior year, I was playing both, and I got actually had a lot of college um, attention at wide receiver and running back. So I brought that sort of versatility to the table. But meanwhile, I kind of always knew that my heart was with defense, and that's where I was going to play at the next level. So I had the versatility to play both, but defense was always on my mind for sure.
Okay, okay. So, also there in high school, did you do any other sports besides football?
Actually, the only other sport I participated in was indoor track during the off seasons, just to work on speed. So no basketball, baseball, soccer. I was more of a football specialist type of guy, and I kind of honed in on that and perfected my craft that way.
Okay, so indoor track, and that was you said that was mainly just to stay in shape. It wasn't super competitive or anything, was it?
I went to the meets and competed, but it was more for just perfecting my running form and just getting faster, mainly just for the football field.
Gotcha. So Cole, as you were growing up, as a kid, who were you a big fan of growing up? Obviously you're a defensive back, so who are you looking at, maybe idolizing as a kid, and maybe want to be, when you were, a little kid?
Yeah, my favorite defensive backs growing up, and I watched a lot of film. I used to be a film junkie in terms of like the NFL and college guys. I obviously love Tyrann Matthews' film, as our stature were pretty similar in that regard, and I think our play styles also share a good amount of similarities. And I also loved watching Ed Reed and Earl Thomas, and I feel like with those three guys, you really can't go wrong. Any given Sunday, they're going to make something happen if you turn on that film. So.
Interesting. And it was brought to my attention that your dad also played in the NFL. So what kind of I don't know, how did that impact you growing up and maybe even perhaps influence you as a player?
Yeah, my dad actually played wide receiver in the NFL. So as a player, I kind of had to pave my own way, especially being on the defensive side of the ball. I feel like I paved my own way and kind of just wanted to be my own sort of player, and I couldn't really model my game after him. But the other intangible things, as far as knowing the game and the ins and outs and what to expect out of recruitment in college and even going forward now and into the next stage of my career, I think he's done a lot to benefit me just by being able to kind of share his past experiences, things he wished that he would have done better, things that he wished that he knew at my age, and things like that. And I think just having that second person there that has the knowledge already to and your best intentions at heart has gone a long way for me in my career thus far.
Great. It's good to have that insight. It's good to know some people who have been there. Um, would have been interesting if you would have followed suit to be a wide receiver, but obviously you're a defensive back and you were recruited by Elon University. So let's talk about that school real quick. When you think about your school, Elon, why is it so special for you?
Elon was a special place to me as soon as I got there, mainly because they were the first team and the only team that showed me the sort of love that was needed for me to get to the next level as a football player. I had one offer. That's not one offer D1. That's one offer D2, D3, and it all encompassing one offer. So I took that offer, and as soon as I got on campus, it was a clean slate, and I started working my way into playing time as early as my freshman year, where I started 9 games. So Elon's a special place for me because they held it down for me, and I met a lot of great teammates there in my time, and a lot of great coaches that I still have relationships to this day.
Gotcha. And what were you able to accomplish there as a student? I mean, have you already graduated? What's your status on the academic front?
I graduated undergrad, got my bachelor's degree in television and cinema arts, and I've been using that, more on the creative side outside of football, just to be able to kind of see some of my other passions come into fruition in this stage of my life. So I enjoyed my time there, and not many people can say that they have a degree in television and cinema arts from a school like Elon.
So what does that mean? I mean, what are you I guess aspiring to be? What are you doing in your off time? I mean, give me some insight.
Yeah, it's a pretty versatile degree, I would say, but the main thing that it allows is the flexibility to kind of pick and choose where you want to work. And for me, I'm currently using it in order to edit the path to the draft series that I've been creating. So I've had a lot of film get collected over this past 2 months, just documenting this journey for me as a small school prospect, and sort of the attention that I'm getting and the hype that's starting to build up to the point where, I could hear my name called on draft day. And what I've been doing with the degree is just, kind of editing this film up into a place where I can make it consumable for an audience that they may want to share my journey with me.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know where you were going to go with that. Like if you made like independent films or something.
Hmm.
But certainly that you could do that, I would imagine, if you were led to do that. So neat. So let's get to talking about some football there at Elon. I mean, obviously played there on the defense. Um, Talk to me, just kind of describe that defense overall, and then just focus strictly on yourself and how you're used there at Elon.
So I had a couple different defensive coordinators while I was at Elon. First was Tony Trisciani, who's now the head coach there. Then we had Billy Crocker, the former Villanova national championship coach, who was our DC for a few years while I was there. And now it's Coach Devontae Edwards. But the entire time I was there, we were a cover four team. Cover four man match was our base scheme. We ran three down front for my first 3 years, and then my last season we switched to a four down front, and we're more of a 4-2-5 type of team. But the one word I'll use to describe our defense, at least my senior year, was just fast. Like we had a lot of great athletes, and it gave us a lot of flexibility to be able to do different things in coverage and change up our schemes to benefit our players the best.
And so, Cole, when I kind of look at you as a prospect, I mean, part of me wants to, I guess, really put you in at Nickelback. I mean, I don't know how perhaps you see yourself translating to the next level, but overall, how would you describe yourself as a prospect? I mean, maybe some of your strong suits, better attributes. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, when I think of myself as a prospect, I would describe myself not necessarily as a defensive player, but I think of myself as a defensive weapon, where I kind of have the versatility to create havoc from a number of different places on the defensive backfield. So if you want to put me at high safety, I can run sideline to sideline as well as cover the middle third with the best of them. And I can also come down in the run that way. If you want to put me at nickel, I have the versatility to guard tight ends and slot receivers, but also be able to blitz off the edge and stop the run should they be trying to attack the outside that way. So I see myself as a weapon, and it's kind of, incumbent upon the defensive coordinators that will be working with me to figure out, how they can best use me to create havoc on the offensive side of the ball.
Gotcha. The other thing I was thinking of is, a lot of young rookies. I mean, they get thrown out there on special teams. They got to prove themselves there and then kind of work their way up through the roster, the depth chart. So, what is your own personal attitude and approach to being a part of us, special teams?
There's not many spots on a football field that I can't play. I could play offense if a team wanted me to do that, I think, and I would be pretty solid. But yeah, special team is something that I love to do personally, and I would want to play special teams for any team in the league. And I think, the same attributes that make me a versatile and dangerous defensive player translate perfectly over to special teams. There's not many players in this draft that you're going to find that amounted over 250 tackles, a number of pass breakups, and also ran a 4.37 at their pro day or combine. So when you put those things together, tackling and speed, I mean, that's a recipe for a special teams ace.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I see you doing, like, out the gate, because you figure, I'm gonna put you down, on, kickoffs or something, allow you to be a gunner, like on punts and stuff, and you're gonna be the first guy down there. You're gonna be the first guy to, make that tackle and, maybe get a turnover. You never know how those things go, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely see you doing that at the next level. So, Cole, kind of want to talk a bit about character, if you don't mind. And really, what I think really defines a character is how they respond to adversity. And so, uh, give me an example, if you don't mind, about maybe a time that you were faced with adversity and just kind of how you handled it, and maybe perhaps came out of it a better person, player, man. So go ahead and share.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I have plenty of examples of this, as most football players do, just, with the trials and tribulations of playing ball. But I think the main one that I can think of off the top of my head is just this senior year, dealing with sort of the injuries and the outstanding circumstances that I had to deal with, and the unpredictability of the situation. Going into the preseason, I was in the best shape of my life and had a freak, like, groin strain that held me out for about a month and a half. And during that time, I had to show up to practice, show up to film in camp every single day, but never got a snap. So I felt like that was one of the most adverse times of my life, because it's hard to be out there loving the game and not being able to play any of it. You have all the responsibility of being a college football player, all the expectations that come with coming off of a great season like I did, but none of the ability to actually go out there and exercise yourself in the game that you love. But I also was able to learn from it and grow, and kind of become that second coach, third coach that could, mentor the young guys, because we have a young unit outside of myself. And to be there and support my guys and be able to mentor them in the ways to make sure that they're being able to fill in my shoes the best they can while I'm out, was something that I think allowed me to grow as a person afterwards.
Great. And despite those setbacks, I mean, you're still able to finish out your career, have a decent season, and really situate yourself to really just kind of go, head first into this whole thing, this whole, draft process. And along the way, you had a stop at the College Gridiron Showcase. So give me some sense as to how that worked for you. I mean, maybe perhaps some of the highlights of that week. So go ahead and share.
Yeah, I thought the Gridiron Showcase was a cool experience, just because it's kind of your training wheels to being in the real professional world, where you're no longer with the people that you spent the last 4 years of your life with. You're not with your friends, you're not with your family, you're with people that have the same goals as you, and people that are really talented and accomplished in their own field. So I think it was a good opportunity just to get around those sorts of guys, and to realize that I belong here, I can compete, and if anything, felt like I was the best defensive back there. And then it also, they provide a lot of things outside of the football, where they're talking about the financials, and they bring a lot of mentors in to speak, and former NFL players to speak on their experiences and whatnot. And I think, I brought my pen, I brought my notepad, and I was able to soak up a lot of what they had to say.
Cool. So biggest thing about events like that is just kind of building relationships. And so, with that being said, I mean, you're able to build relationships with some of the teammates, the coaches, but dude, you get to sit down maybe with some NFL scouts and do some interviews.
Yeah.
How did that work for you, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so the interview process caught on a little bit late for me. I had a couple meetings with guys at the showcase, just because they saw what I was able to do out there, but it really didn't pick up until much later on in this process. After my pro day, I think that's when I started to really hear from scouts and started to get some traction and some attention from NFL scouts and executives. For me, it's been cool. I mean, it's nothing outside of the ordinary for me to be able to sit down and talk to people about football. I mean, this is my comfort zone, so I've enjoyed the process, and it's really surreal to think like I'm actually talking to people that could be giving me a job. But at the same time, I try to be myself, and I think that I can tell people the truth, and that's something good for them to hear, whether it's coming from somebody as the truth or a lie. I can speak my truth and it can be like, the perfect answer, so to speak. And I think, I've modeled myself as a person and as a player to be able to do that.
So, you mentioned your pro day, which I personally feel like you did a great job at your pro day. Um, some of the numbers that I was able to pull up, again, very good. If you got different ones, I apologize, but I want to go ahead and just kind of repeat what I have in my notes. So, um, 4.4340, 39-inch vertical, and a 10.6 broad jump. Um, all those are really nice numbers.
Right.
If you got a faster 40, it is what it is. I mean, some guys, they have a faster, thumb, whenever they do these things. But even with them as they are, man, those are really nice. I mean, how are you able to get there? You know, obviously I don't know where you're training or anything, but elaborate on that somewhat.
I mean, yeah, I've always been a fast player. If you turn on the film, a lot of times I feel like I'm moving at a different pace than everybody else that's around me. So that's always been a part of my game. I've always been able to jump pretty high and been a great athlete. But I went to go train down in Nashville, with X3 Nashville, and I think that they helped me take it to the next level in terms of getting my 40 down and just being on a good nutrition program and kind of having that structure to be able to hone in on these certain things right here, the combine sort of stuff. So that's where I got the fine tuning, but I kind of already knew that this was going to be, the sort of numbers that I was going to put up.
So, you've positioned yourself as pretty well as a prospect and really put together a solid resume, as a player. So, I want you to go ahead and just kind of share some of your best highlights, if you don't mind. Is there maybe a game or perhaps even a play that you can maybe walk me through as one of those better moments that you've had there for Elon? I mean, can you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anybody that's played more snaps in Elon's history than I have. Maybe Davis did, but some of my best games, I think, I've always showed up against William and Mary. I've always had good games against them. They're a great team, the past couple years, and they always give us fits on offense just with the things that they do. They're just weird and have a great personnel all the time. And I've showed up to the plate the past few times we played them. Um, so William and Mary 2021, William and Mary 2022 are two of my best games. My game against Davidson in 2020 was my career high in tackles. I had 17 and 14 of them were solo tackles. So if you want to see, the speed and me flying around the field and just kind of my tackling ability, I think that's the best game that displays that. And other than that, I play really well against Richmond as well. So if you want to look at Richmond 2021, I have a great game there also.
Cool. Well, the one thing that people always say about these small schoolers is you don't play anybody. But to be honest with you, for people who don't understand your opponents, they got to understand CAA is legit. You guys face some really big, talented, programs. So, um, give me a sense for some of those matchups, man. I mean, because I mean, they're not a walk in the park. I mean, you guys have to train yourselves and bust your balls just to win some games. So, share a little bit of that.
Yeah, the CAA is stacked as a conference. I mean, week in and week out, you can drop a game or you can catch somebody slipping on any given week, and even the teams that are at the bottom of the conference are always dangerous and liable to put points on the board and have a great defensive outing. So we also played Vanderbilt. So I mean, if you want to talk about that, I mean, we were one one play away from beating an SEC opponent that went 500 this season. So it's hard to bring up that claim, especially when you take those the games away and start to look at the white lines that I'm running on, especially since I went to NC State's pro day. We're running on the same white lines. There's a reason I had the fastest time of the day. So it's hard to take that away from us. And then, like you said, the CA, there's good competition out there. A number of the guys are going in this draft class, and I think you're going to hear some guys make some noise over the next few years from that conference.
Cool. Let's give a little bit of love to the guys there at Elon, man. I mean, um, who there at Elon do we need to know who's either coming out or gonna be there next season?
I'm glad you asked this question. We got 6 guys coming out, so the stack or the class we have at Elon, our senior class in general, was just stacked with guys. We all came in together, had a common goal, and a lot of us had a chance to transfer before our senior year, but decided to stick it out just because of the love we had for each other. So with that being said, there's a ton of talent, and a couple of guys are getting recognition. You got Marcus Hillman, who was a Buck Buchanan finalist. You got Jackson Parham, who was 2-time All Conference in the CAA, and those guys are getting some love by scouts and executives and things like that. But I think somebody that's flying under the radar a little bit, who's also come out in this class, is Bryson Daughtry. He's a receiver as well, and he's always been dangerous to me. And I've had to guard him 4 years in a row, and I've also had to see what he's doing to guys on the sideline and in game. And he's somebody that I feel like should be getting some more love than what I've seen so far, just because of the versatility and the playmaking ability he brings to the table. And also, shout out to Skylar Davis, the best kicker in the nation.
Cool. And what's it gonna look like next year, man?
We'll see. It's gonna be a young team. There's a lot of talent because we were just deep as a team, but we were old. We were deep and old. And now, the young guys that have been talented this entire time that were, learning from the older guys that were great leaders and great players are gonna get a chance to show up and show out. So, it's hard to predict teams, especially in the CAA. I mean, we've been predicted to be last where we ended up finishing third. So it's hard to predict the CAA, but I know Coach E is going to do a great job with the defense. And, I know when it comes game time, we have a lot of talent on the defensive end of the ball. And, hopefully with new guys out there, they'll be able to get the job done.
Cool. I mean, we've already kind of touched on it. I mean, CAA, again, any given team can win on any given game. It's tough. I mean, like the worst projected team could be like the third best. So, and vice versa, man. You never know. So, but cool. So, Cole, is there anything else about you feel people need to know? Other than you as a football player?
Put me on the spot. Um, I don't feel like there's anything people need to know per se about me, but obviously there's a lot about me outside of football. If there's anybody watching that would like to get a closer look into what this process is looking like for me, or my personality, or things of this or that, I would check out just look up Cole Coleman on YouTube, and there's a Path to the Draft series coming out right now that I'm working really hard on. And anybody who loves the NFL draft will definitely enjoy taking a look in this process, especially from a small school perspective, where most of the time you're covering the big guys in the draft. So I would definitely plug that right there and say that would be something that would be worth your while and checking out.
Well, cool. Definitely check that out here soon. Cole, let's go ahead and wrap up our time. It's been fun getting to know you and sharing your story with all the world out there. So, um, go ahead and talk to all those scouts right now, who you may not have talked to yet. So, and just kind of tell them why you would be a great addition to their team. So, hit them with your pitch.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like I'm an easy player to sell at this point. I've accepted the fact that I'm probably going to be a later round guy, which makes sense. Based on the school that I came from, based on the physical attributes that I bring to the table, I'll be a late round flyer. And, what guys look for in the late rounds is special teams guys. And I think when you bring the athleticism that I bring to the table and the tackling, I'm a safe special teams pick. And the upside, I believe, given the athleticism and the positions that I play and the versatility that I bring to the table, are huge, especially with the production in terms of turning the ball over, getting it back to our offense and things of that nature. So I don't think I'm necessarily a hard player to sell just because of the versatility I bring and the speed. It's an easy sell in my opinion. But I would encourage scouts to figure out, how do we see this guy destroying other teams? How can we use him to create havoc on the other side of the ball? And that's really the question. And for people that pass on me, the question is, how can we stop him from tearing up our offense too much? And it's kind of just, what side of that do you want to be on? And that's the selling pitch I would give. I would give any scout, GM, executive that wants to, or that's taking a look at Cole Coleman.
Cool. Well, Cole, just want to wish you the very best of luck in this process. I mean, I realize that it's not an easy road, and you got to train yourself really hard and prepare yourself for whatever comes next. So we'll figure out what comes next here in the next few weeks, and go from there. So, but thanks for sitting down with me.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me up here.
Sure, no problem. Cole Coleman, defensive back at Elon University. Check this guy out.